Welcome to StoryUp. This is a long form space for honest conversations about stories. The ones we live inside, the ones we carry for years, and the ones that continue shaping us even after they become books. I'm Dr. Marina Rivera, founder of Full Circle Press. I work closely with authors at many stages of their story's life, before a story is written, while it's being shaped, and after it's released into the world. StoryUp exists because I believe that stories don't begin or end with a book. They shape how we see ourselves, how we make meaning, and how we move through the world, often long before they're written and long after they're shared. Here, I reflect on what it means to steward stories with care, responsibility, faith, and discernment, sometimes on my own and sometimes in conversations with authors whose stories are already out in the world. If you're holding a story that matters or living with the one that's still unfolding, you're in the right place. All right, it is strategy day today. And so today I want to talk about the power of simplicity when it comes to book writing. So I think that optimization, it's something that's kind of been a popular buzzword lately in the productivity space, for lack of a better term. I think that optimization is in many cases, it's like procrastination wearing a lab coat. So we're saying, like, oh, I'm optimizing this, I'm optimizing that. It looks productive and it feels intelligent. And it might even give us the illusion that we're moving forward. But for many writers, I think it's actually the thing that's keeping you stuck. And so today I want to talk about why simplicity almost always beats optimization when you are trying to write a book or pursue any sort of meaningful goal. And so, if you've ever rebuilt your writing routine again and again, downloaded another planner, researched the perfect system, redesigned your workflow instead of actually writing, you're not alone. I can speak on this because this has been me. And again, not just with book writing, but with anything. It's like, okay, I'm going to research and find a new productivity system. And once I find that system, then that's going to solve all my problems. And sometimes I find great systems and they have cool hacks in them or different types of things that can be helpful. But I think that writers, like many motivated creatives, are extremely good at over engineering things. Like it's just something we tend to do well because if we can just design the perfect structure, then surely everything else will flow from that, right? Except that's not usually what happens because if we build systems that are too complicated to sustain, they will not sustain, right? So whether it's a morning routine, a writing ritual, a tracking spreadsheet for some sort of goal we're working on, a productivity app stack, like, okay, I've got like this app for this and this app for this, even like something like a reading plan or milestones towards our goals, accountability check-ins, we can get to a place where maintaining the system takes more energy than actually doing the work itself. I've spoken in a few different spaces about my simplified morning routine. I love a good morning routine. I love a good checklist. And I realized a while ago, I'm like, I have like a 12-step morning routine. This is super intense. And just because I like structure, but what happened, like in my desire for structure and knowing that how I start my morning really impacts my day, I had like created a system so complicated that it was actually working against what I had designed it to do. Because again, if maintaining the system takes more energy than doing the work itself, it's probably too complex of a system. Because when life disrupts the routine, then the whole thing collapses. And then we have to rebuild it. So then it's like, okay, well, now I need a new plan and I need new tools and I'm going to make new promises, commitments to myself, check in again with my accountability partners and say, I know I was doing this, but now I'm doing this. And if we do this with our writing, we can find ourselves like months later and we still don't have a book or any substantial progress towards our manuscript completion. So if your writing routine or your any sort of productivity routine only works under ideal conditions, then it probably doesn't actually work. Because every extra kind of rule or step we have for ourselves creates the need to make a decision. And I don't know about you, but decision fatigue is a real thing. Like the amount of decisions we have to make in a day in the modern world is already a lot. And so when we design routines that then require us to make like one more decision and one more decision, it can be overwhelming. So for example, with writing, it's like, okay, well, what time should I write? Which project should I focus on? How many words today? Do I track this or do I not track this? How do I track this? Is this session good enough? Did it count as a writing session? Should I change my strategies? Like even asking all those questions, y'all, and I'm already ready to take a nap and I love to write. Like, I'm like, that's too many decisions to make, because what decision fatigue does is it quietly drains your creative energy before you've even written anything down on the page. Because if you're working on meaningful writing, it requires cognitive and emotional bandwidth. It can take a lot out of you. And by the time you finish deciding like how to write, you're too tired to actually write sometimes. And this is why I believe that simple routines outperform complex ones over the long run, because there's less deciding and there's more doing. So simplicity, I used to think like a simple routine was like, oh, well, I'm only speaking for myself. Like I used to think like, oh, well, if my routine is too simple, then I must like be lazy. I must not be doing enough. But actually, simple routines can really create leverage, because when we create paths that are clear and repeatable, it's automatically going to build momentum for us. It can be like a force multiplier. I hesitate because I'm like, I shouldn't be using probably any sort of math metaphors. I think in words really, but if we think about it like a multiplier, right? Like you do the thing and then it compounds, because a small action done with high consistency does equal real progress. Whereas a complex action done with low consistency just is going to leave us frustrated. I think that also writers often assume, and I hear this from authors, they assume that the only way to write a book is with a lot of intensity. And again, I think that's because there's this whole like almost like mythical world out there of like what a writer does. It goes back like centuries to like someone like writing the great American novel in a cabin in the woods. And so I think there's this misnomer that it takes a lot of intensity, but what it actually takes to write a book more than intensity, I think, is continuity. And so what is a system that you can follow when you're tired, when you're busy, when you're discouraged, when you're uninspired? Because if you have a simple routine that you can follow, it's going to outperform that like perfect 12-step system every time. And so this is what I've done in some other areas of my life as well. And I do believe that it also is helping me in my writing in this season, is to have 2 anchors. So not 12 habits, not a full lifestyle overhaul. You don't have to redesign your whole office or writing space, y'all. If you saw the simplicity in the space that I write in, like you would be like, wow, that's it. Like I have a very small desk, a laptop, a notebook and a pen, and that's it. And a cup of coffee and my Bible. That's all I have. That's all I need right now. So when we think about a simple writing routine, let's look at it like 2 anchors. So let's have one habit that grounds you and then one habit that moves the project forward. So when I say grounding habit, what I mean is something that can center you before you create. A short walk, a breath prayer, an anchor scripture, some deep breathing, meditation, quiet coffee time, like a grounding habit, and then a forward habit, one consistent writing action. For you, it could literally be opening the document. Like that's it. That's the habit. Open the document. It could be writing 1 paragraph, revising 1 page, adding 200 words. It almost doesn't matter what the forward habit is, as long as you have one you do consistently, and that's it. Like there's no elaborate tracking. There's no punishment if you miss a day. There's no complicated rules. Because if we just have these 2 habits, a grounding habit and a forward habit, a forward momentum habit, that can create a rhythm that can survive like the real demands of our lives. Because our real life is where our books have to get written. I don't know if you've gotten the memo I've gotten recently, but the time Calvary is not coming to save us. There's not going to magically be 28 hours in the day instead of 4. The bills aren't going to stop coming in. The family isn't going to stop needing us at the moment at which we're sitting down to write. The phone's not going to stop. Like these things, like life is still going to continue. Like even if we're working on a book, my life, I don't know about your life. My life doesn't care really that I'm writing a book more often than not. But if we can figure out how to write within our real lives, I think that's where books actually get written. And so again, and I know I talk a lot about like the abandoned book or the thing that didn't get done, but I meet so many people, y'all, who say like, oh, like I would love to write a book one day, or oh, I started a book years ago and I never finished it. And it hurts my heart because I also have the joy of seeing authors complete their books, and I know what's possible. And like, there's this quote about like not wanting to die with your music still inside you. And that might feel a little dramatic here, but I can be a little dramatic sometimes. So here I am, but I don't know. I feel that with my soul. Because I think that even though like sprinting energy can start a project, like I'm going to do the 50 things and I'm going to have the perfect routine, I think that like the steady energy is actually what finishes it. If you all also, I said if you saw my writing desk, if you all saw like our publication checklist, there's a lot of items on it to get a book to publication, like from manuscript completion to publication, that my team and I work on. But it's not like this, not incredibly like sexy or exciting things, but they're things that repeated over time get the work done. And so I think if we look at writing a book less like a productivity challenge, and again, this language isn't going to speak to some people. Some people are like, well, why would I productivity challenge? Like, what is that? But I love a good productivity challenge. And I have in the past like approached even writing like that. But if we look at it more like tending a fire, again, tending a fire doesn't really excite me, but it does ground me when I think about it. And if we think about tending a fire, like we don't need to burn hot every single day. We just need to keep the fire lit, right? Like let's say there was a fire and literally your only job is to keep the fire going. It doesn't always have to be a big flame. That actually wouldn't make sense. It just has to be sustained. And so if we can have a sustainable pace, this is going to protect our energy, our creativity, our like God-given clarity, our emotional resilience, and our willingness to return again and again until we have the book completed. I think that showing up today matters, of course, but showing up tomorrow also matters, right? And so having that long view and saying, how can I keep this going until I have something that feels completed? So I'm here today with good news. If you are stuck right now and you feel like you don't have your writing routine or rhythm dialed in, you probably don't need a new system. You just need a smaller one. So if we can let go of the idea of needing an optimized system or a perfect system or even an impressive system, I think that's where our even like the Instagram world and like, oh, the reel of like the, like the behind the scenes, and you see all of these like perfect routines and rituals, and that can be like a little bit seductive sometimes, I think. But we don't, like, for some of us, if that's your thing and it's working for you, like I'm not going to tell you don't do that. But if it's not working for you, what if we just worked on creating a system that was workable with a very simple grounding habit and a very simple forward habit? Because I think that books aren't written by the person with the best routine. They're written by the person who keeps coming back to the page again and again. And so if this resonated, here is a simple next right step. Save this video for the next time you feel the urge to rebuild your entire system. I'm talking to myself here. I'm going to save this video as well. I do believe your future self will thank you. And if you want to share one small action or two small actions, a grounding habit and a forward habit, if you want to share in the comments, we can learn from each other. As to how we can move this work forward. And again, we're not creating our dream plans, we're creating an actual plan. I'm Marina. This is StoryUp. I believe your story matters. It doesn't need a perfect system to get written, to come to life. It just needs your steady presence, one small step at a time. Until next time, go out, make a difference in the world wherever you can, and come back and bring a friend. Share this with somebody who might benefit from going on this sometimes messy book writing journey with us. But it can be messy sometimes, but I'm here to say, after having the privilege of helping people bring their stories into the world over and over and over and over again, it's worth it. It's worth the press. It's worth the coming back and trying again and saying, what can I adjust here so that I can actually get the book that I was called to write done? Again, I'm grateful you're here, grateful to share this space with you, and see you next time.